Welcome to Driven, the Unscripted Success podcast, with your hosts, Mike Menino and Nariman Hamden, bringing you insights and stories on achieving personal, professional, and financial success.
Hi, everybody. It's Michael Menino, and welcome to Driven, Unscripted Success podcast. Today on the podcast, we're interviewing professionals who share their experience with you, the audience, and how they got to where they're at today. And we have Edward. How you doing, young man?
I'm doing great, Michael. Good to be on the call with you today.
Well, thank you for being here. Really do appreciate it. Edward's worked at IMS, and he's in sales and managing. And we talked earlier, it's not something you planned on being at, but you're here now and love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely what I call one of those transitional guys that was a late bloomer in life to get into sales and marketing after being in operations for over 20 plus years. So I would say this, it definitely was not scripted. That's for sure.
It was the Unscripted Success. There you go.
Yes,
beautiful.
Yes.
Nice segue into the show. That's awesome. So do me a favor, tell everybody where you're at and how you got to where you're at. We did a little bit of that earlier.
Yeah. So just logistically, I'm based here in the upstate of South Carolina. I call Spartanburg home, sort of where I work, I pray, and I live with the family, and been blessed over these years. And had an opportunity to come out of Columbia, South Carolina, after graduating, and got started here in the upstate in operations, and sort of stayed that trajectory for a number of years. And, again, I was never one of those guys that really thought I was going to be doing, I wasn't looking for always moving to the next job. They just sort of presented themselves over the years. So I'll take that I was opportunistic more than anything else. And so I had a career trajectory that kept me in operations with call centers and with data centers and tech support centers and things like that. And what landed me to where I am today was a data center that decided to spin out its managed services operations. Always wanted to do it, had the opportunity, and that's where I got my start back in 2020 with IMS as we spun that out. And then just a couple of years ago, had the opportunity to transition into more of a sales and marketing leadership role for the company. And this has been my journey, and it's like climbing Mount Everest, but I enjoy the view. I don't mind the climb.
Nice. What is the acronym for IMS?
Well, this is the inside joke, Michael. It used to stand for Median Managed Services, which was the data center. But when Median was sold off, IMS, as we knew it, no longer meant anything. So the running joke was, it means something. And so that's
it means something. That's awesome.
It means
I love
something.
That.
Yeah. So you can sort of do the takeoff on IT and then mean something. We played with that. Not my creative. I wish it was. I probably could have coined it and made a lot of money doing that alone. But yeah, that's it really doesn't mean anything. But I would say is we can make it mean something for sure.
There you go. Awesome. That's fantastic. There's a lot of competition in what you do, sales and marketing. What sets you apart? What do you do differently that most people don't do?
Oh, so I think the biggest lesson that I've learned over these years is two things. One is the value proposition of what you do. And the second thing is, how do you differentiate yourself in the market? And I'll just say this, in the state of South Carolina, for example, there's probably at least another 150 plus managed service providers statewide. Now, they can be an army of one, or they can be 100 and everything in between. Very crowded market. That doesn't even include the analysts and the consultants that are out there that are doing, say, cybersecurity and other forms of that. Definitely very crowded. So I look at it this way. In our market space, there's probably about 5,000 addressable companies in the state of South Carolina that we need to be reaching out to, and you've got roughly 300 competitors going after those same 5,000 companies. So we had to sharpen the saw. We had to really figure out what our message was, how we land that message in something that honestly people don't get excited about. I don't know if you've seen this, Michael, but when people start talking IT, you can almost watch people's eyes roll in the back of their heads. It's an expense. They don't get excited about it. The C-suite doesn't get excited. So my biggest challenge is to really have been digging deep to find out, what can I change the narrative? How can I change that message? And what lands without making it sound so techy? And that's been my climb over the last two years in this role.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That does seem like a tough challenge. IT, when you hear it, it's a necessity, but it's hard to understand. Does that make sense
Yes,
for most people?
it
So
it
they
it
want to
does.
know about it, but they can't. Maybe they can. It's hard. I don't know how to explain that.
No, and I think if you think about it, it's a small niche group where if you get in a room in a conference with a bunch of folks that are in managed services or IT,
There you go.
man, you can't stop talking. It's crazy. Everybody's at
Hmm.
zeros and ones, and you get the theory, you get the applied, and the humor out of all of that. But yeah, if you go to a business that take any business segment and you have that
Right.
conversation, it just does not translate well at all.
No, it's just, is it tough to understand? What is the mystery of it?
Well, I think it's like people looking at it like table stakes. And it's not really, I don't know that it's a mystery. I think what it is that it just doesn't invoke curiosity. It doesn't invoke excitement. And people look at it as this is just an expense to keep the light on. I've got to have IT. I've got to have security for my data, for my people. I've got to have some new technologies. But in the day is I'm writing a check for something I can't see. And
Ooh.
and I think that has been our biggest challenge. So fast forward to something that we were talking about a year ago is we really started leaning into what is AI doing to shapeshift our market.
Hmm.
And as a service provider, I don't know that my head was right there at the time until something clicked after Thanksgiving of last year, coming into this year. And as you probably have seen, there's probably no conversation on national TV, local, otherwise, that doesn't include the word AI.
Hmm.
And so we literally transitioned our company to an AI driven service provider model. And that's what we lead with today. We still have all of our suites of services behind us, but the idea is that AI done correctly, safely, and securely is transformative. That's the conversation that people are wanting to have today. So that's how we've sort of brought that to the table. And it's a whole lot more fun having that conversation than talking about cloud migrations and network security and desktop support. Those things we get to eventually, but that's how we've changed the narrative.
I like that. AI is transformative. That's awesome. Um, if someone listening wants to get better at what you do, what tips and tricks would you give them, and what suggestions would you give them?
Well, I think the place that I would say is, and let me make sure I'm clear on the question, is like, do we want to talk specifically about IT in general or AI in general? Is there one you?
Ooh. Let's can we combine them, or would you rather talk
Sure.
about one or the other?
No, I mean, I think they're
Okay,
inextricably linked to some degree, but
there you go.
so the number one thing I would tell anybody that if you've ever had this happen to you when you get out of college, you learn pretty quickly you don't know what you think you know. And your education is just starting when you graduate with a degree. And I don't care if it's 2-year tech degree or 4-year degree or master's or anything like that. Your journey is just beginning. So I had to learn how to break the mold of thinking that I knew an awful lot when in fact I really didn't. And I had to go retrain myself to be a student. And this has been a lifelong journey for me. I read a lot, I listen a lot, I try to apply a lot of different things. I pray a lot for creativity and curiosity. So, and that's just something that I've never been forced to have to execute upon. And what I have found is it's highly encouraging, it's highly infectious. And when you get a community of people that are challenging each other in somewhat of a like-minded approach, um, you start to hear perspectives that you would never hear anywhere else. So my number one thought to anybody out there, whether it's IT or AI, be a student. Find where you learn best. If that is podcasts, if that is video learning, micro learning, or if it's taking a course or getting a certification, yes, even going back to school to get some advanced degrees. I think all of that is on the table. So be a student, number one requirement.
Agreed. You never stop learning. There's one time you stop learning. And
Yes.
when you go to meet the maker that day, it's probably the last day you're going to learn something. So
that is true. Yeah.
yeah, and I think I'm on your page and can't wait for that day. I'm not in a hurry, but I can't wait for it.
Yeah.
What is one of the biggest challenges you had to overcome ever? And how did you do it?
Um, I think one of the biggest ones that I had was actually when I was in a regional competitive local exchange company that we had merged. So think about two equally sized, equally matched competitors coming under one roof.
Ooh,
Technically, that was not our challenge. The biggest challenge that I faced there was organizational alignment. And think about it this way. Think about your best competitor or your worst competitor, however you want to look at it, and say, now you two are now in lockstep with each other. And you've got to figure out how to navigate somebody that you competed against. Maybe you liked them, maybe you respected them. Now they're under the same roof together, and you've got a blended family, and you've got to get everybody heading the same way. I had an organization that had about 150 people in it at the time. Half of the people were from one side of the family and half were the other side, and nobody liked each other. And I recognized pretty quickly that this was a problem because it existed at the leadership level in my organization. Um, so we
you
had to,
said something huge there
yeah,
at the leadership level, because
yes.
that's hard to shake, isn't it?
Oh, I couldn't do it myself. So I had a very trusted friend of mine that was in the business of consulting, and he came in and I told him what my challenge is, and he said, "Edward, what do you want to do about it?" And I said, "Well, I need to break the barriers down. People don't trust me. And listen, let me be honest, maybe I don't trust them because I don't know them." And he goes, "Edward, you need some team building."
Yeah,
And so we took the entire leadership team off the floor, stuck them in a boardroom for 3 solid days, and we learned how to talk to each other, how to break barriers with each other, and how to get rid of the baggage that I think we all brought to the table. Because if we didn't get that right, there was no way our staff was going to get it right.
agreed. Yeah, agreed. A friend of mine that's a life coach said when he goes to turn a $5 million company into a $10 million company, I said, "What do you do?" He said, "Go straight to the top. They're always the bottleneck." And I didn't understand that, but now I do. And usually it's the people at the top that are saying, "No, we can't do this," or "No, we can't do this." To open up just lines of communication probably was a lot harder than you thought, right?
Well, I totally agree. And think about it this way: in a technology company, knowledge is king,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if you want to have a knowledge economy and you want to share that, you've got to feel like that you're in a trusting environment where people are not going to take it as their own and leave you on the outside in. So we had to address a lot of human behavior challenges, and a lot of it was head noise. But at the end of the day, it was not a quick fix. It probably took us about 6 months to really
Wow.
stay committed to the process of leadership conversations, using examples, trying to build that trust, build that rapport. But once we got that nailed down, all of the challenges that we had post merger really started to become things that we were invigorated by, hitting certain key performance indicators for how we treated our customers, how we solved their problems, how we answered a telephone, all of those things that you need to do in that kind of environment. We started just clipping them off one at one because we trusted each other. We had each other's backs. And that was huge. But yeah, it definitely was a journey of epic proportions to break that. And I think we broke it at the right part to start.
To do it without getting rid of everybody and start half the team and starting over is hard to do. Changing a culture of changing a culture of a company is tough. I would suggest that. I mean, you probably have a better idea of it than I do, but what do you think? Do you think it is one of the hardest things you've done?
It is, and yes, we have seen companies that just blow it up. Right? They instead
Mm-hmm.
of investing the time to try to fix it, they'll just eliminate it, and then they hope they get the right people coming in to replace them. That takes time in and of itself, right? I mean, you and I've seen this, that any employee today coming in a company, probably at a minimum, it's going to take them 3 months just to get comfortable in the environment. At 6 months, they're probably starting to make an impact, good or bad. So I'm a big
That's
believer,
a good
Mike.
point. That's a very
Yeah,
good point. Good or bad?
Yeah, I'm a big believer that as I've learned this when I've had a chance to build organizations, that my number one goal where I felt like I could bring the most value is hiring the right people. If I got that
Agreed.
right, I felt like I was setting our company up for better success. And one thing I had to learn pretty quickly is I had to learn how to hire my replacement. And I really wasn't good about that early on in my career because I always wanted to be the guy, and as great as that may make you feel temporarily, it can also stymie your promotional opportunities because if you're the only one that can do it, then your upward mobility at that point, probably limited. So I had
Mhm.
to create a culture of training my replacements. And I've been fortunate enough and blessed enough in my career trajectory to have done that twice. And to me, it was so rewarding, and it allowed me to do exactly what I wanted to do, was to tell my senior leadership team, our board, hey, I've got my replacement. If you need me to go do something else in the company, I'm ready. They're ready, and there's not going to be any disconnect in transition. They're coach trained, ready to go. Put them in, and that's a pretty rewarding thing to see play out. And it doesn't happen very often, but man, I count that as a big blessing for me, personally and professionally.
I agree with that. When if you that's just a great idea is to have a replacement so you can scale up. That is just fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
Leading a team is challenging. What's your leadership style, and can you give us an example how it helps you through tough spots?
Yeah, well, I mentioned earlier that I try to read an awful lot, but more importantly, is somebody asked me one time, they go like, Edward, you got all these books on your shelf, do you know what they say? And I said, well, I do. I try to practice it. So it's applied reading. I'm a big John Maxwell fan.
John
Um,
Maxwell.
yeah, I wish I had been connected with John Maxwell back in college, quite honestly. Um, he's probably written over 60 books in 30 years, and it's all about leadership and the components of leadership. And I find that there's a lot of gold nuggets that are there, and I just have to learn to apply them. So the biggest thing that I had to do was through a leadership opportunity was to try to get people that didn't understand what it meant to lead themselves before they could ever lead others. And the company that I was with had what I call supervisory and management training, but it was really tactical in nature. Like how to do a performance review, how to deliver bad news, good news, whatever. So a lot of that was around development, but it really wasn't about being, leveling up to be a better coach or maybe even being a better mentor. And I had to learn that in my journey, what the distinction is. And so what I had to do is if I wanted a high performance team, I needed to have high performance leaders, and leaders are not title driven. So I really had to sort of take that opportunity to say, if you're answering a telephone, you're leading our group. If you're the supervisor,
Nice.
yes, you've got a supervisory title, but you need to be a better leader, and then
Mhm.
just run it right up the chain, if you would. So I tried to apply what I learned, and this all came from John Maxwell's book, 360-Degree Leader. That was such a pivotal book for me at the time that I literally just found it jaw dropping. All of the what I call the primer, if you would, the operational manual behind it that debunks myths that I was struggling with. And so I was able to pay that forward. And to me, that leadership opportunity was once in a lifetime.
Uh, John Maxwell is probably one of the best authors I've ever heard of in a long time, and I do love his philosophies too. Um, when you think back at any moment that really changed the game for you in your career, what was that moment that was pivotal?
Um, I will tell you, I don't know that it was intentional, but I would say this
I
probably
don't think
like
a lot of them
most.
are.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have been in roles where they don't know if they're in the right place at the right time and in the right seat. And I found myself in that role for about a year, and it was pretty toxic. I was in a very interrupt driven environment. We had a lot of challenges in the industry and within the organization, and I was trying to lead this organization, and I just didn't know if I was, square peg round hole kind of thing. So for a year, I prayed over it, and I would have never quit. But it came to me in December of 2006 to where I was told my job was being eliminated. And I didn't expect that. It was the last thing I thought because, again, I thought I was slowly moving up and to the right. I had proven some successes and felt like that, I probably could have landed somewhere else in the company, but that wasn't the outcome. And so January of 2007, I'm sitting on the outside of the building looking in going, what just happened? you know? And a close friend of mine said, Edward, you did pray for this, right? And I'm going like, yeah, but not like this, And
yeah, never. Yeah, whenever you talk to God, yeah, you're never gonna get what you think.
Yeah, so it was a faith-based milestone for me, but it was also a realization that I probably should have been listening to the voices that if I didn't feel like I was adding value or moving the needle forward for what I needed to do, and it was always just a whack-a-mole approach to business every single day, I probably wasn't in the best environment to thrive. So no, I didn't quit, but maybe the role quit me. And so
Gotcha.
it really set me on a journey of doing some business development for about 4 years in an entrepreneurial environment. I was an army of one. I will tell you that's like walking in the desert for 40 years. I just did it in 4. And I realized I don't know that I was cut out for that, but it was an incredible learning experience. And I just took that as an opportunity to say, yes, bad things do happen to us, and we've got to figure out how to way to transition and power through that. And thank the good Lord for really good friends, really good counselors along the way, and just an increase in the faith walk to realize, there's a better plan, and I need to be open to it, and I need to be aware of it. And I think that's when I probably pumped the brakes and said, all right, you got my attention, Lord. What do you need me to do? What do you want me to do? And let me not miss the signs. And that has stuck with me. And I hate to say it, I've left those bags at the train station years ago. But make no mistake, it is almost as real to me today as it was back in 2006.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, I can see that. There's those pivotal points don't seem to leave you quick, do they?
No. But it's also served as a reminder that I needed to understand what I can control and what I can't control.
Can't control. Yeah. That's knowing the difference. Knowing the difference.
Yeah. I thought I could control a whole lot more back in those days, and that was just a fallacy, and it was not the reality. So lesson learned, Michael.
Nice. Well, yeah, the tough lessons, but you learn them.
Yeah.
Sounds like things are going pretty well for you now. Thinking about the future, have you ever considered ways of creating income without doing as much work? Passive income, basically?
I have, and 2 things that I always thought about was, I think you and I had sort of talked about it, a mutual, soothsayer of all things financial, Dave Ramsey, right?
Oh yeah,
can I be a better advocate for passive income through, properties, and whether that be real properties or if I'm buying into businesses, those kind of things. That I don't necessarily have I can be of it, but not in it. Those kind of things. Certainly have thought about that. My career trajectory thus far is I have not stepped out completely with that. I always try to be opportunistic to look at it. What I am seeing is unpacking what we're doing for small businesses is around the AI deployments for companies is how do I help these companies monetize it. And does it create a platform or a launch pad for me to be able to grow that business in something else that may be an adjunct to what we're doing? Maybe it's a new product within our current company, or does it allow me to venture down something that starts a completely different business model where I'm using the technologies I subscribe to grow a business and see where that takes me?
Awesome. Very awesome. Very informational. You kick out a lot of information in a short amount of time. I love that. As we're wrapping up the interview, what exciting plans do you have for the next six to 12 months?
Well, I have literally grabbed the AI tiger by the tail here.
Nice.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't feel like I'm not challenged. I mean, there's something around every bend that when I think about creativity and curiosity being 2 components of things that I want to be better at, I have now a coworker I won't call him Eddie, but let's just say that it could be my alter ego sitting beside me. And I have used tools like this to challenge my thoughts on things and to have something that gives me some brutal truth, but also maybe allow me to see things differently than I have with my own biases. And so what I think is evolving out of this is, how does it make me better at what I do? And having a coworker that is, again, not human, that's my responsibility, but that gives me, just, if I can validate the source of information, verify that source of information, do it safely and securely, I feel like that what I'm developing is a roadmap for what the next 6-12 months would look like for our company, but also our clients. And that could open up a tremendous amount of opportunities that I don't know that prior to this, that I've ever really thought about. And let's be honest, in our business, we don't know our customer's business as good or better than they do, right? We're just a small, cog, if you would. So the ability to come in better prepared, better educated, asking more intelligent questions, having that curiosity, but using technology that allows them to see things in a different way, it's a light bulb moment. And I can't say that enough, because there's a lot of people that are scared of the technology. And I've just decided I'm not. I don't want to embrace it, but I want to embrace it responsibly. So what it allows me to do, and I hope I'm able to articulate this to clients and to friends and family, is there's nothing that I've hit right today that I would tell you has been as transformational as AI tools at our disposal that are free. And it's worth investigating to see how it fits into your world. But I will say this, it's made me a better learner. It's made me hopefully a better leader to ask things differently, or have somebody challenge me in a thought process that I probably would have never thought of on my own. I'll leave you with statistics, because this may shock you. If you took any large language model today, just say like ChatGPT, OpenAI, the OpenAI large language model, if you were to go and read every word of the data that is put in that model as it exists today, you will still be reading 2,000 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
There's
amass
a lot of information in that.
Yes. And I can't amass that in my brain. So
no.
Knowing that that's the data lake that sits out there for just one of these models, and that I can have conversations naturally with it and then validate it, that's a world that up until late 2024, I was just not really that exposed to, and it has literally been a game changer.
Nice, beautiful. Yeah, it is. It is amazing, and it's really going to alter, like you said, alter our AI is transformative. It's really going to alter our perception of reality. I really think so too. Hey, Edward, thanks a lot for being on the show. Thanks for all your time and insights. If somebody would like to get in touch with you, how would you recommend them doing that?
I'm going to give you the longest email URL you've ever heard of.
Okay, let's do it slow.
Yeah, I'll do it really slow. So it's just edward.mcmillan, and that's MacMillan at IMS Solutions Group, all one word, .com. Our website is the same, imssolutionsgroup.com. Get in contact there. And if there's something that you think there's a value in having a conversation around your business, around AI, cybersecurity, all the things that make technology work in your company, just love to have the conversation and see where that may take us.
Edward, thank you so much for being on the show. Really do appreciate it. We're going to let you go. And for everybody else, please like and subscribe and hit that notification button, because it really does help out the channel. Trying to get to 1 million subscribers. Thank you very much, Edward. I appreciate your time, and we'll let you go. Thanks again.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate the time with you as well.
Thanks for listening to Driven, the Unscripted Success Podcast. Want to share your story? Apply to be a guest at drivensuccesspodcast.com/guest.